Hey guys, welcome to DevOps School. In this video tutorial, we are going to learn about Docker. It helps us to create, deploy and run applications by using containers. After going through this tutorial, I promise you that the concept and understanding of the Docker will be absolutely clear to you.
But before that, let me ask you a few things. Are you dreaming of a career with higher pay and more responsibilities? Or are you ready to take your skills to the next level this year? Then start investing in DevOps School certification level courses which will help you to emerge skills for a wide range of entry-level roles and as well as higher potential future positions. But with thousands of courses online and in classroom worldwide, finding the right one for your career goals can be difficult. You can consider our courses like Agile Developer, Agile QA, DevOps Certified Professionals, Site Reliability Engineering, DevSecOps, and Masters in DevOps Engineering, where you will have access to well-structured, easy-to-follow course content that has been developed and will be delivered by industry professionals. You can join on our training programs globally through online platforms, and if you are looking for classroom workshops, then we have regular sessions available in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi NCR, Mumbai and in Pune. Simply compare our many courses, find the one that suits your style and schedule best and start today.
Now the question is, what is Docker? What is Docker? What is Docker? Now when I see people talking about, or whenever we read, then we see whenever we talk about the Docker, then people say, okay, it's using Docker you can create a container. Okay, that's good. You can create a container. So let's call this as a container management tool. Container management tool. I think I know what is a management here. Management means managing something, right? Managing something. And when it is here something, and here in this case it's a container. Okay, so managing something. Now here we have a tool. Now tool means what? Tools means whenever you go to read the definition for tool, it's like a saving cost, improving speed. Okay, and efficiency, improving efficiency also. Correct. So this is the definition of tool: saving cost, saving time. Here let's put it up: saving time and efficiency. So are we talking about using container? We can save cost. Using containers you can save time and you can improve your efficiency. Is it something like this? So I guess so, yes, it's a tool. Now next question is, what is container then? Because I know by now Docker is managing container. But what is a container? Because that's an important question we should know. So now let's forget about the container for time being. Everything, just forget about it. We are not learning containers right now. We are learning how any applications can run in compute unit. Okay. I will redefine this question so you will get it better understanding. What are the components, okay, we need to run applications? What are the components? Okay. So I said applications always. Here also say applications. Here also I said applications. So this answer is very much important. Okay. So let's try to understand what are the components needed to run an application. Now if I look at the compute unit, understand this architecture. You all know that. Just we need to recollect. That's all. This is the hardware layer. This is the hardware layer. And when I say hardware layer, we have a CPU, RAM, storage, hard disk, right? Everything you have it. Now, on top of that, we get what? We get kernel. Now, on top of some utilities written for the human beings, and then this kernel and plus applications, some applications, we call it operating system. When I say applications, it can be calculator, it can be command line, it can be shell, it can be different things, UI related part in Windows. So they come along with operating system, right? These together, we call it operating system. Now, if you get only kernel, then we as a human being will not be able to use it. So we have operating system. And then on top of that, when let's say I want to run Apache. So it's Apache. So here we get operating system, and then what we do, my name is Rajesh. Okay. So I will log in as a Rajesh. Here I logged. So this is my user firewall. I mean, not firewall, I would say. It's like a user isolation. That means this is my space in which I can do anything. No other user can see it until they are root. That means if two users has logged in, let's say Rajesh and Rahul. Okay. So Rahul cannot see this is Rahul, or let's say this is R, Rajesh, and here this is Karan. Okay. So Karan cannot see my user space. I cannot see his user space also because there is a user isolation. Correct? No? So this is like this. Now Rajesh has logged into this machine. Okay. And then what we do, we run Apache software. Think we run Apache. Now, this is the way we run Apache. See what was the question. What are the components we need to run? We need to run applications. So first of all, if you look at this, we need a kernel. We need a kernel. Okay. And on top of that, you need one user space also. You cannot run any application without user space. Have you ever run any application without user space? No. See, you might have noticing multiple times you run Apache using Apache user, Tomcat using Tomcat user, MySQL as a MySQL user. You also, I'm running right now in front of you MS Paint. So I'm running this as a which user? Rajesh user. My Windows logged in password, user ID. Correct. So without users isolation, you cannot run any application. So we got this one also. Now, we need to allocate, because this is a one sort of user isolation, and then this is also process, and this application also is a process. So we need to allocate RAM and CPU to this particular process runtime environment. So guys, anyone has idea about how can we allocate RAM and CPU to the applications which is running, which you want to run in the operating system? How do we do that? Anyone has idea? Anyone?
We can use task manager to change priority and
What is the component that is being called?
So if it is a Java application, we can set it in the JVM.
No. That's a Java application. That's just a JVM. I'm talking about at the system level, not the application level. The application, the one which you said Java, right? that is here. But users also is running, this application also running, these applications also running. So they need CPU, right? And RAM to run it, correct? So how do these CPU, how did these RAM and processes get services get CPU allocation, RAM allocation? Who is doing all this work? Do you know? Okay, no problem. I think you might have seen this. C groups. C groups we have in C. Okay. Read this, only the required things. You don't need to read everything. If you want to read more, see this. See what they are saying. C groups is a Linux kernel feature. Wonderful. That means these C groups are here somewhere in the kernel. CJ, I will type it CJ, okay. So CJ is a Linux kernel feature that limits accounts. Accounts means the user, correct? User. For and isolate the resources users such as CPU, memory, disk IO, network ID of a collection of processes. That means this guy is allocating the CPU and RAM to all the system process. Now the question is where it is? In the kernel you have. This is a part of the kernel. Now guys, one thing is important. C groups will assign the CPU and RAM to the service depends on some identification only, right? So how this each processes, whatever you run, how can they identify which process they need this much of CPU, which process is asking this much of CPU? How you get it?
Process ID.
Correct. If you 100% correct. So in the system, if you see that in Windows also same thing. In the see here. Look at this. This is a PID column, and here is CPU allocation, memory allocation. Because C groups decide and allocate the RAM and CPU or network or whatever it is as per the PID, process ID. Okay. Okay. So PID. So PID also. So here process ID. So at the system level, there is one process. I'll change the colors to one system. So what happens? One process ID gets created at the system level, top of it. At the system, just okay, top of this. PID, we call it PID. Okay. So now PID create the process level. Now using that only, they allocate the CPU and RAM. Okay. Have you seen this 2 PID number 2 ever in your one operating system? Have you seen this? 2 PID numbers? No. So how many PID table you get it here? Only one. Okay, at the system level. Now the question is in my mind, from where this PID coming from? That is a question. From where this PID is coming? Who is creating this? Who is initializing this? We can simply say kernel, but this is not a complete answer. That way, any questions anyone will ask you and me, I will say kernel. That is not good, right? Because we know that kernel has everything which create a compute environment. But what exactly in the kernel which create a PID, in which initialize the PID? We need to know. Correct? So, now if I look at this here. Okay, I'm just writing, copy and pasting here. Okay. Okay. So if I look at this, if I just type PID and this result is not good in line. See what is that? PID, see, process identification number that automatically assigned, see here, that is automatically assigned to each process when it creates on a Unix like operating system like Linux or whatever. Okay. Okay. Now this PID comes from where? How? How you get this PID come from where? If I see here, I want to see that PID kernel. Okay. And here if I see some, I'm looking for the good image. See, this is a one image I want to show you. This is also one image I want to show you. This is called PID map. Okay. And then I want to show you kernel name space. We are learning ourselves only. I'm not teaching you. You are not teaching me. Let's learn together. And this image. Now if you look at this here, this image is good actually. See here. I don't know how to make it big. This image is good, but the quality of that image is not good. So let me get another image. This is a very important topic, guys. Please focus on it. Okay. This is also good image. Very good image. I like this. So if you see here you have a Linux kernel, this part. Okay. Look at it very simple way. This is Linux kernel. And they have a one concept called namespaces. This image was better, but I'm not able to get it proper. So see, Linux kernel has namespace. Okay, this is the namespace. They have a C group source, security also, networking also, storage also. Okay, so here I am talking about the namespace. Now this is the one. Okay, so now if you look at this namespace, so what are the kind of namespace we have? What are the kind of namespace? So see here, we have so many namespace. You don't need to learn everything, but if I look at it very carefully, then I see there is a one namespace PID. It's a type, okay? It's a type, PID type namespace. Okay? So this PID basically creates the process table, EID table. It's wonderful. I think kernel had namespace. Okay? And the namespace has a PID namespace which create a process table. Now, what is a PID and all, which you have already studied. So, you know that. It was somewhere here. Okay. Just. This is the PID. Okay. So PID. Now we got to know, okay, so if I look at my image very carefully, this PID comes from the PID namespace. Okay. Now this user isolation coming from where? This Rajesh, this Karan, this other users also you can create and run multiple time at a time. So coming from where? If I look at this image carefully, then do you see one namespace which is called user namespace? Okay. So because of this you get the user's initialization. So here you have user namespace, okay, for user initialization. Okay. Now you can read more about the user space later. Wonderful. So kernel has namespace, PID you get it, user we get it. Now look at this one more time, this image. So process table we get it, user we get it. Wonderful. Now guys, every user experience the particular file system, right? When you log in, you see the file system. Anyone would like to tell me what kind of file system you see when you log into your system? File system. File system. When you log into the system, what kind of file system you see?
NTFS.
That's the algorithm actually. Driver we see FAT32, NTFS, overlay, device mapper, ops. These are the driver basis, right? Some sort of program. But you see something, right? No matter whether you applied FAT32, NTFS or something like ops, device mapper. So you see something when you log in. What you see? So if you look at the operating system is made up of the file system. Understand that, very simple concept. I put S separately, so you'll understand. Very basic file system what you have is a boot file system. Please do not forget, okay? Boot file system. Now, boot file system is something we also call kernel. Okay, this is kernel code. Okay, when you run the operating system, have you seen the kernel code ever? Boot file system, have you seen? I said when you run the compute unit, have you seen this? Kernel code? Anyone? No? Yes, boot file system, you cannot see it. You cannot see it. On top of it, we have one more file system, which is called a root file system. Okay, a root file system. Have you seen the root file system? Anyone?
Yeah. So
Yes.
we have a root folder, right? Is that one?
You got it. Yes, you got it. Anything you see inside your root file, root location, that's called root file system. Few people, if you have not understood, let me tell you. Show you the image, you'll get a better visualization. See that. Have you seen this? Somewhere you might have seen this stuff. Correct, na?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a root file system. Okay. On top of that, you see that how this relationship is going on. Then you see user file system also. Have you seen the user file system?
Yes.
So any example of user file system?
So underscore slash home, we have every user, we have a separate folder.
Right, yes. You have a desktop, my documents, my downloads, this, that, my music. All these are your file system. User file system cannot be seen by other users. Only you can see or root can see. Okay. So see here, root file system, root file system, user file system. And one more thing which is there, application file system. These are the word of file system. So now look at it. When it's application file system, let me show you one of which you'll get it. Let's say typically I installed all of my programs in a C tools directory. Okay. This is clean up E drive by the way. So yeah, I'll do that later. So if you want to see Java file system, here it is. This is a file system. When I say file system means group of directories and files which is serving some particular purpose. Okay. It is a JDK file system. Now if you want to see Maven file system, this is Maven file system. If you have worked with the Git, right? Git repository, inside you have a multiple directories and files. Actually that is also file system. We call it Git file system for your product. Okay. So it's like this. So now coming to the point, when we run operating system, what happens? One particular file system, we see that we always see that file system. We cannot see good file system because it's running at that time. But we see the root file system. We see the user file system. We see the app file system. So all these things get mounted at once. So here, now the question is, who will mount to the system this file system? See, I logged into my system and I am saying C drive, D drive, E drive. So how come you are able to see who's mounting myself? See, these are mounts. C drive and E drive is a mount. You know that. If you have formatted your systems ever in your lifetime, you get the one storage, you format that storage and mount it, create a mount, partition. Okay.
If you liked our Docker session so far, please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely.
Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest.
Thanks for watching.